Hey folks, this is Abel James, and thanks so much for joining us on the Fat Burning Man Show, where we talk about real food and real results. Do you have a dad bod? I hear it's all the rage these days. Or maybe you're getting an extra curve or two, or you don't want one. You could be working out exactly the same way that you did when you were younger, but you're not getting results anymore. You're still putting on weight, or you've reached a plateau. This happens to so many of us. It's happened to me. Today we're here with exactly the right person to help us figure this all out, Dr. Anthony Balduzzi. After watching his own dad lose his health and pass away at the young age of 42, Dr. Balduzzi founded the Fit Father Project to help other busy fathers get and stay permanently healthy for their families. Today he's joining us on the show, and we're actually chatting about what to do about low testosterone. This is an issue that a lot of you folks write in and ask me about. So we have a lot of good tips in today's show about what you can do, changes you can make in your lifestyle to really make some upgrades there. We're going to talk about how to make meal prep convenient and fun, and also how to stay in shape as you age, which is easier said than done, as a lot of people know. Before we get there, here's the review of the week. It came in from Christy, and she says, after finding Fat Burning Man, I've more or less stopped listening to most of the other health and wellness podcasts. I found more and more that I agree so strongly with Abel's views on the health industry. His expertise in nutrition, sound advice on exercise, and science-backed information on how to live a long and happy life is refreshing and honest. His guests are great, and I particularly loved the recent James Lugo episode. You want to talk about an honest and compelling conversation. This podcast has it all and more. Thank you, Abel and family, for bringing inspiring and authentic content to the masses. Listener for life here. Best, Christy from Atlanta, Georgia. Christy from Atlanta, thank you so much for writing in. This really warmed my heart. I really enjoy making these podcasts and making all of this content with you folks and for you folks, so do not be shy. If you want to get in touch with me, the easiest way to do it is to send me an email at abel@fatburningman.com. So I look forward to hearing from you. And don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter over at fatburningman.com, because we have a lot of crazy announcements coming up in the next few weeks and months. And finally, before we get to the show, if you haven't checked out the Wild 30 Fat Loss Program yet, listen up. This is your last chance to get the whole cannoli for this month's huge discount before the prices go up. You'll get everything you need to get results right away, including the Wild Diet Fat Loss Manual, Motivation Journal, done-for-you meal plans, quick start guides, as well as audio and video bonuses. If you're ready to start shedding stubborn fat while eating delicious food, then try our 30-day program for a limited time discount over at fatburningman.com/30 days. That's the number 30, DAYS. So that's fatburningman.com/30 days. From any device, you can type in that URL. We'll see you there. All right, on to the show with Dr. Anthony Balduzzi. We're chatting about what to do about low testosterone, how to make meal prep convenient and fun, favorite workouts for turning back the clock, how to stay in shape as you age, strategies for overcoming mental blocks and staying in control. This is more important than ever, and tons more. All right, let's go hang out with the doc. All right, folks, Dr. Anthony Balduzzi holds dual degrees in Nutrition and Neuroscience from the University of Pennsylvania, a doctorate in Naturopathic Medicine, and is also a national champion bodybuilder. So far, he's helped over 26,000 fathers and mothers lose over 150,000 pounds through the Fit Mother and Fit Father Project programs. Doc, thank you so much for being here, man.
I'm excited. I'm a big fan of this show, and excited to have a good conversation.
Right on. Well, let's just start with talking about parenting in general, because this was something that came up in a recent live stream that I did, where there's kind of this dichotomy between the parents who kind of use the fact that they're a parent as an excuse not to be in shape, and then those who see parenting as a reason to be an example of health to their children. So how can you kind of get pulled over to the latter?
Yeah, come over to from the dark side to the light side.
That's right.
Well, I think it really starts with how we relate to and conceptualize health and fitness in general. I think a lot of people think of health and well-being as a body-specific thing, as an individual siloed kind of thing. It's like, I do this with my food, do this with my exercise, I look and feel a certain way. What we try to do is help people expand their perspectives to understand that health and fitness is almost more of like a foundation than it is a silo, that everything else you do in life rests on this foundation. So how well you show up as a parent is largely dependent on, how well you feel, how present you are, how energetic your body is, how well you do at work is also dependent on these kind of things. So when you start to understand that your health and fitness is the thing that elevates every other area of your life, it becomes more of like, I have to do this stuff because this is a necessary requirement for me to live the thriving life that I'm committed to. So it kind of takes it from being a silo to being like this evergreen foundation that underpins your life. And the way you get there is by doing a lot of reflection and sometimes journaling on how am I showing up in my health in this area right now, and how is it affecting all other areas of my life, and getting deep. And I think that helps a lot of people, especially those who've been trapped in cycles of not being happy with their body and yo-yo dieting. You can really end that cycle when you make some identity level shifts, and that comes from this deep reflection process.
I'm so glad that you mentioned journaling, because it's something that's so easy not to do, especially if you've never really done it before. So how do you see the benefits of working that into your life?
Of journaling itself?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's two ways. The journaling I was just kind of mentioning is more of a deep dive exercise journaling, where you might set aside 30 to 45 minutes and ask yourself some deep questions about, where I'm at right now with my health, how it's affecting every area of my life. And so that's a journaling for the purpose of rewiring some of your psychology, because when it comes to health and fitness otherwise, right, this stuff is a lot about our behaviors and our neuroassociations, and we can repattern our brains to behave in a better way. We're going to stay on track without the need of willpower. So that's kind of like an episodic journaling, but then there's the daily rhythm journaling, right? The kind of ways where you can start your day with a simple gratitude practice. And I've been off and on with journaling for years. Currently, I'm actually off journaling, but I'm very on my meditation. For the periods of time when journaling was a huge thing for me on a daily basis, the key is to make it incredibly simple. I use tools like the 5-minute journal, where it literally takes less than 5 minutes, right? You write down 3 things that were successful at the end of the day, 3 things you're grateful for. And I think the big benefit of journaling is it can serve as a little bit of a bookend for you on either side of your day, the morning and the evening, to give you the ability to be more proactive around your schedule than reactive. Because it's like, think about journaling is the exact opposite of what the cell phone is. The second you wake up, if your cell phone's not on airplane mode, you automatically have push notifications out the ass. Your email that's tempting to open up. Journaling is like the opposite of that. It's a time to take some stillness, to go internally and to pre-frame your day for success, for happiness, and to focus your brain to really pay attention to things that you're grateful for and that are going to be successful. And what does that ultimately do? Well, you go throughout the day and your brain is looking for things to the wins, things to be happy and excited about, and then everything else starts to work better. So it's like a little bit of a, kind of grease in the wheel of your life, and everything starts to spin a little bit better. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it does need a physical cue. You do need a physical journal.
Yes,
in my experience, that's sitting on your nightstand or it's on by your kitchen table, and you need to, first thing before, when you get up and before bed, before other stuff happens, is the perfect time to build a habit like that.
Yeah. But once again, it's not one of those things that just like you do it once and all of a sudden your life is 1,000% better. It sneaks up on you, the benefits, like meditation, right? Could you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, a lot of the benefits that I initially derived, journaling was like my gateway drug into deep meditation, which I practice daily now, and I absolutely love. But when I started journaling, I hated meditation. Couldn't sit. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say hated. I always wanted to meditate a lot, but I had a trouble really carving out the 20 minutes when I felt like I had this big to-do list. So the prospect of sitting down on a yoga mat for 20 minutes when I wanted to get to work was really tough for me for a long time. But I think with the journaling in particular, it's something that's tangible. It's simple. You grab a pen, you write down for a few minutes, and it starts to, like you said, rewire your psychology. As it comes to meditation, I believe that as people living in this common age, one of the meta superpowers that any human can cultivate is presence. Your ability to take your consciousness and direct it in this moment and to be here fully in touch with life and whatever you're doing. So obviously that has direct applications to your own sense of connectedness to life, which means you're a happier person, which means you're more likely to eat good foods, which means you're more likely to be great to your kids, and that rubs off on them. We don't even know the ripple effect of how that affects the world. And so you can journal, and it absolutely can help you retrain your brain to be more grateful and maybe even pre-plan your success. And we know that written goals really help. But I would say this, nothing is going to help you become more skilled at the art of being present to every moment of your life than meditation, which is essentially the art of sitting down. And there's so many different forms, but really just getting connected to this present moment and using your breath often as an anchor. And for me, it's been one of the most profoundly impactful things over the past few years is really understanding consciousness through simple breath work.
Do you have an idea of like the before and after, personally speaking, for you, like what your life or mental state was like before?
Totally. You mentioned in the intro, some of the businesses, the Fit Father and Fit Mother, and to get to the point of all those people we've impacted, I was working like a maniac. I started these businesses in medical school, working 80-hour plus weeks, and that was like my MO. And I was very fulfilled in my heart because I knew I was doing good work in the world, and I love health and fitness and well-being. But I was also caught in my own hamster wheel. A lot of people who are in this kind of like entrepreneurial, start something big. We have a culture like that online, which is great. I do agree people should live a life on your terms, but you can still create your own hamster wheel. It might not be working for corporation A, but you can create your own. I'm sure you've been in phases with your own business where, the business can run you if you're not careful. Yeah. So what I think that the biggest before and after that has come is how I relate to my entire life in general, as understanding that this is, just content that's incredibly swappable. Like you could check in on me in 5 years and the Fit Father Project could not exist, but the deep Anthony that does exist here continues on. So really understanding your relationship to yourself, which is really great because it makes you take everything a lot less seriously. Yeah. And it makes you, invoke a lot more play into your daily life. And I think that's great because when you're coming from a place of being like, wow, it's just absolutely amazing that we're conscious beings, that we're alive, we're on this planet, we have, choices and we get to understand ourselves. Everything else has, a little less meaning. I think that's the famous Steve Jobs graduation speech that was great. It's like you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can always connect them looking backwards. Mm-hmm. When you're at a place of deep presence and you allow yourself to kind of just, go through the flow of life and still absolutely have goals, everything becomes easier. It becomes more fun, and you don't have to, use this tool, which is amazing, right? To pre-plan every single step, and then suffer when things don't go exactly as you had planned it. So I'd say ease is really what I would say the before and after is.
Yeah. And for someone like you who, Ivy League school, long education, smart to begin with, go-getter, probably type A, right? Like I had a similar background. You kind of need to temper that at some point, you realize, or else you're going to crash. Like all those things are kind of, you're conditioned to think that they're preparing you for success, but you really need to do some self-care on the other side of things, right? Not just the super, I'm going to schedule everything and force myself to do it all. You've got to nurture that meditative side as well. And like you said, that starts to bleed over, brings more play into your life, allows you to kind of feel more connected and confident and reassured.
Yes. And trust me when I say, especially for the type A's out there who might be freaking out about this guy's, woo-woo, he fell off the rocker right here. Play does not mean we're running outside naked. It could be, but play means that even if you're writing that email, you can be approaching that from a place of connectedness and joy, because it doesn't have to feel like it's a grind. You could you could have the exact same day doing the exact same things from a completely different state. And one could be massively joyful and one could be massively painful. And I want to say this too, on people who are type A, and especially people who are healthy in type A, is almost a little more of a even more dangerous trap, because when you do have a very healthy body, your capacity to go harder, longer, and farther is tremendous, right? It increases your fuel tank. And if you are sleeping well and you do have great nutrition, you can go like slamming it for years and may not see the effects until later. So I think it's especially important for everyone, whether you're healing or you feel like you're in a good place physically, to work on some of the inner game. And it's not necessarily mental. We do a lot of mental stuff, but I'd say it's more relational and spiritual in a way. And it's not religious, but spiritual.
Yeah. What about managing aging and managing your goals, your ideals? We hear so often about people getting in shape or getting in the best shape of their lives, but over the course of your life, it changes in so many different ways, man or woman, and you need to be very vigilant in terms of keeping your eyes on the right goal, it seems like. So how do you manage that, especially for people who have recently made a major change and become parents, maybe for the first time? How do you manage swapping their goals around?
Yeah, ask me that question in a different way. I think it's a great question. I just want to hear it one more time.
Yeah. As people age, especially like you said, if they're in great shape, if they're beautiful, or if they're full of energy, and then something goes wrong, they have an accident, they get injured, they have a health issue, or they just become a parent, and all of a sudden it's not so easy to lose 15 pounds or whatever. How do you manage aiming for the right goal as life goes on?
Okay, love it. I totally understand. I think the perfect place to start is to understand the priorities, that there are a million different levers you could potentially pull when it comes to your well-being, food, sleep, mindset, exercise, daily movement, supplementation. Understanding which are the levers to pull that give you the biggest bang for the buck when you're short on time and resource. And for me, what I would say people to keep the eye on the prize is to understand that the vast majority of health and well-being can be created through proper sleep. And I know you've had some amazing guests in other episodes where you deep dive into the importance of sleep, which is we are biocircadian beings. The human species has co-evolved to be in contact with the sun and the revolutions and the light cycles. So anytime we can keep our sleep on check, if you do not even have time to exercise, priority number one, in my opinion. Priority number two would be a tie between hydration and nutrition and daily movement. It's tough, but these are really like the four things I would basically say. If you're feeling stressed and low on time, ditch formal exercise. You do not need to get into the gym. Yes, it is phenomenally helpful for achieving this kind of body, and exercise and vigorous exercise, high intensity, does have a lot of metabolic benefits. But the truth of the matter is, if you had basically no time to do anything else, but you could do some simple things around your meal prep, make sure you get 7 hours of sleep and hydrate well, and move your body for 30 minutes of accumulated activity per day, which could be as simple as getting up from your chair, walking around the office, or parking the car a little bit farther. That is your baseline. And I think that's freeing when people realize that the baseline rhythm stuff doesn't have to take hours of time. The other stuff, like those formal high intensity interval training workouts, can be icing on the cake. But really understanding what things are the baseline priorities, and it doesn't have to be super complicated.
Yeah. What about managing media and misinformation, and also just understanding that throughout your education you're going to get things that work and things maybe that don't work so much? How do you know what to keep kind of in your knowledge base and what to avoid? Because people are always looking for answers, and it's a it's a crapshoot these days.
See, I don't know if anyone is qualified to answer this question but I'm going to take a stab at it. I'm taking a stab at it. That was my next thing. I'm the kind of guy to absolutely take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Well, I think along the lines, to kind of tie in what we were talking about previously with the nature of presence and having presence, cultivating presence consciousness, is to start to understand. I'm giving some kind of meta frameworks of thinking that I think are important. And one that I would like people to consider adopting is that your attention is probably the most scarce and precious resource that you do have, and to start to view that as something that is finite. Because if we have, let's say we have 80 healthy years on this planet, if you're taking care of yourself, maybe an extra 20 on top of that, we could actually measure the amount of bits of conscious attention you get, and understand that every time we're going through our day, we're spending these things. So for me, when I started to realize this is probably around 5 years ago, I mostly got off social media. And this is just strictly not because there's not massive value in connecting with friends and family, and not because I read some things on my media feeds that are, life-changing and have really helped me. But I do know that for me, when I am putting up like guards and barriers, now get to be proactive in terms of where I get to choose my attention versus reactive. And I think in the information age, when we're being bombarded by so many different things, and this applies also to nutrition, it's like anything we can do on our schedules to make us more proactive is better. And so keep putting up those intentional filters around, things like social media frees up bandwidth that you don't even know that you have.
Yeah.
You have so much more energy that's just in your day that is being sucked. And it's when everyone's in the same water, it's hard to, see around and be like, oh my God, we're all getting affected by this kind of stuff. But I think for someone who hasn't done a digital unplug, try it over a weekend. Doesn't have to affect your work life, but even like a 2-3 day, and focus on being a little more present. You'll be shocked at how much, attention span you'll liberate that's getting zapped.
Totally true. What about, though, the need for community, especially as you make these changes in your life? Is it something that you have to do locally, like with a local gym or a local community to stay in shape? Because it's not about like dropping the pound once or getting in shape once. It's really about that. It's a more emotional and community-based thing. I think it has to be worth it, right? So how do you do that today?
Well, I'll answer this both on a personal level and also what's working with us in our Fit Father and Fit Mother project businesses. One of the most valuable things of our Fit Father program is we put all these guys in Facebook groups together. So trust me when I say I'm like, get off social media.
Right.
But we have Facebook groups that are changing people's lives.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
Well, I mean, and this is like, we have a lot of our guys who actually create Facebook specifically for this reason. And regardless of what your relationship to social media is, it would even be like viewing these things as tools.
Yes.
Viewing everything in your life, you are a creative, amazing, expressive being, and you have a set of tools that you can use to create things that you want to create in life. So, for example, social media can be a tool. I think Facebook groups are probably one of the best aspects of social media, because what we want out of these things is community, connection, discussion over like-minded topics. That's a Facebook group. What a news feed is 60 different things that you did not choose to see that happen to have been bombarded in a random, but maybe not random, assorted order to keep you kind of hooked and distracted. So those are two different things in the same pond. So I'm not going to say you have to jump out of the pond, but Facebook groups are incredibly important. For me in my life, especially as a guy who's been doing online business for the last 8 years, what the biggest realization I've had over the last year is the importance of local friends. And I have a lot of great friends that I know from online business and who live in different parts of the world. And I think that stuff's fantastic. This is just my personal opinion. I think humans have the irreplaceable need for face-to-face, intimate connections with people in our local areas. We still have antiquated biology and brains that are hardwired to be in tribe. And I think you can create a sense of tribe through social media. And if that's the access that you do have to your most meaningful connections, that is amazing. Dive deep into that. At the same time, if you can cultivate local roots, I think there's something that's irreplaceable about that.
Yeah. So important. Let's shift gears a little bit, because I get this question so often, and I think I don't have many experts who can cover this probably as well as you can. But for people who are over 40, 50 years old, it seems like there are a lot of metabolic changes that happen and you need to make adjustments. So what sort of tips or strategies do you have for people in that age range?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think it does two things. I think there is a large discussion when you look, if you were to Google, weight loss for men or women over 40, 50, a lot of people do come on this hormone metabolism angle, which we will discuss. But I do need to know that just because our bodies have natural declines in certain hormones for both men and women does not mean it's like a death sentence to our fitness. It's like you can still do so much to optimize. Well, I suppose we can start with men, because we'll start with the Fit Father, and I'd like to talk about women too, because there are some subtle differences between in those age groups. With men, issues we face are declining testosterone levels by about 1% each year after age 30, but a lot of guys with stress and poor diets and lack of sleep, that's happening a lot earlier, and environmental estrogens and stuff like that. So the first thing we need to do, again, is fix the sleep. If I wanted to absolutely crash my testosterone levels, I would miss sleep. I would eat a lot of high carb foods, and I would live a very stress busy life and look at a computer screen for about 8 to 10 hours a day. That would be my actual game plan to do that. So if we kind of unwind and unpack that, we're going to make sure we're sleeping enough. We're going to strength train maybe 2-3 times a week, which for guys, the research is phenomenal. When you're in your 40s and 50s, you do full body strength training twice a week, 45-minute sessions. You can offset the age-related muscle loss, and you can actually gain muscle mass. It's phenomenally effective. Wow. So it's not a death sentence, but your recovery is a little bit different than it was. So the workouts you might have seen maybe in Flex magazine were like 25-set chest workout, not the best idea. You need more bang for your buck exercises. And I think typically we do things that are a combination of strength training, cardio, and flexibility and mobility all in one. So we like strength-based circuit training, I think is the holy grail of fitness for guys who want to stay fit in their 40s, 50s, 60s, which is, you take a squat, a shoulder press, a row, and maybe a push-up, and you put that in a circuit with very little rest in between. Phenomenally effective. And the research also supports that. And then it's doing the foundational stuff with nutrition. How do we make nutrition more proactive, which for a lot of guys means, one, picking a meal timing schedule setup that works for you. For a lot of guys, it ends up being something like intermittent fasting, because it's very simple. Skip breakfast, have lunch at noon, snack at 3, dinner at 7. But it could be a breakfast setup too. Eat at 8, lunch at noon, snack at 3, dinner at 7. Point is, get a framework. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you don't know when you eat meals throughout the day and you don't have some kind of plan around your meal timing, I would start there. And it's not that meal timing is metabolic magic. Yes, there are benefits to certain meal timing setups like intermittent fasting. The point is that it makes this whole process proactive, and it helps you avoid a lot of the junk, et cetera. When it comes to women, women are always more beautifully complicated than men. And especially when we come to this, this perimenopause period where there are a lot of hormonal changes. Guys have this, kind of gradual decline in testosterone. Women, we have this perimenopausal period where estrogen levels, get a little wonky and then totally drop off and plummet. For this reason, I believe that strength training for women over 40 is even more important than strength training for men over 40. A lot of the health benefits that women get from estrogen, protecting their bones, protecting their heart, women lose all of those pretty much after menopause. So keeping your bones strong through strength training, absolutely essential. And there's some natural, a great diet and some certain kinds of supplements can help balance estrogen levels as well. A full spectrum multivitamin. A lot of women do good on maca. But I think these fundamental principles apply. Make sure you're sleeping good. Have a meal timing setup that's proactive. And for both men and women over 40, I think strength training 1 to 2 times per week as a minimum baseline is just really great. And look, you might not even like strength training. You might be more of a runner aerobic, but get into the gym. We have a mutual friend who's been on this podcast, Akshay. He's an ultra marathon runner. The guy does not want to carry a lot of muscle. But you better best believe when I'm designing some of his training programs, he's strength training 1 to 2 times per week because you got to maintain that muscle mass.
Yeah. Yeah, I've run both ways, not strength training, and the difference is phenomenal, and mostly just in the way that you feel. But strength training, especially when women are considering it, it doesn't have to be powerlifting 450 pounds, right? So maybe let's get a little more granular there. What might it look like for someone who's in that age range?
It is moving your body through ranges of motion that are functional, things that you would do in your everyday life. You would bend down, you would pick things up, you press overhead, you reach and you pull, doing those things with resistance. So it does not matter to me if you're on a Pilates machine and you're doing these exact motions with resistance. It does not matter to me if you're getting a bar and doing a class at a gym where you're putting a barbell on your back and doing a lot of squats and shoulder presses. What does matter is if you're someone who does not have experience in this, is to get plugged into some kind of structure that you think you can stick to and will enjoy. That's far more important. We can definitely stress on the minor details of this is slightly more optimal than this, but what way more important than all that is what's the habit that you're actually going to be able to stick to. So if it's signing up up for that strength training circuit class at your local gym, doing that once per week, that's phenomenal. If you do have some weightlifting experience and you want to get into full body workouts with a barbell, that's phenomenal. If you have a pair of dumbbells at home or a pair of kettlebells, you can get great workouts. And there's so many great resources online. Like YouTube is really democratized this whole fitness game in a way, because you can find better workouts on YouTube than maybe a local trainer at your gym could give you, instantaneously. So there are far fewer barriers to getting started, and there are a lot of great beginner workouts out there. But the big thing is setting yourself up for success in your environment. What's going to get you to stick to it?
Yeah. Doing it for a while, working it into your schedule, it starts to become its own reward, but you have to get there. You kind of have to just that little, it's like that with music as well. It's so much better to do 5 or 10 minutes most days than like try to be some weekend warrior, and usually that's based out of ego too, where it's like the small things that you do every day. It's like harder for your schedule to have ego in it. Right?
Totally. And hey, and as you get older in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond, there is some new research showing that the weekend warrior setup is absolutely bad. We want to give our bodies just this constant stimulation through training. And in fact, if you do nothing throughout the week and sit at a desk job and don't sleep great and you're a little stressed, then you go on the weekends and absolutely kill it. That's a very stressful in a bad way, inflammatory, damaging thing for your body. So it really is, giving your body those piecemeal chunks, which might be committing yourself to getting 5,000 steps a day. So it's like 30 to 60 minutes of walking, and then strength training even once a week to start would be once a week of strength training is infinitely better than 0 days a week of strength training.
Yeah. What about, can we talk a little bit more about testosterone? Because that's certainly taken a nosedive in the past few years.
With testosterone in general, like levels or like the popularity of
discussing? Yeah, why don't we talk about I guess the predicament that we're in as far as testosterone goes, and then what we can do to help it out. You've already mentioned some things like sleep is massive, but there are some other things we can do as well.
For sure. Well, I think the first thing is we'll start there. We'll get back to the sleep thing without going deep down that rabbit hole again. And the point of bringing up sleep is we need to look at the things that are, before we look at boosting levels, what are the things that are already dragging us down? And testosterone and cortisol for men have a little bit of a seesaw relationship. As cortisol has high, testosterone levels go down, and vice versa. When cortisol levels are lower, like a lot of these herbs and stuff that are touted to raise testosterone levels are often helping your body process and eliminate cortisol. So on that note, making sure, sleep and stress management, which, journaling, meditation, and spending some time outside are absolutely phenomenal habits to get into on the testosterone front. Strength training 1 to 2 times per week, increasing the amount of healthy fats in your diet. This is a little bit of a controversial thing, but I stand on this side of the fence. 1 egg yolk a day can do a lot for guys' testosterone levels, but through providing a little bit of, healthy cholesterol and actually raising HDL levels. So I'm a definitely a proponent of including some high quality fats on the cholesterol rich front, like eggs, and then eating a diet that's low in processed sugar and processed carbs. So that often means, eating like a wild type diet, right? Like eating foods that are not processed, that our ancient ancestors might have had access to. And with the strength training, the sleep, and the mindset, that's the baseline stuff. On top of that, guys can take certain supplements that are research proven to help with testosterone. Believe it or not, they are not the supplements that typically come in the testosterone boosters. There are a whole range of different herbs, Tribulus being one, Tongkat Ali, that are very touted. And a lot of people believe, increase testosterone. The research doesn't actually support those. A lot of them are libido boosters, which is a benefit for a lot of people, and people can get benefit from that, but it doesn't necessarily raise testosterone levels. What does is optimizing your vitamin D3 status. So if people are not getting that, if you don't know your vitamin D3 levels, you've never gotten that checked on your next blood work, ask your doctor to run that, check it out. You definitely want to get those levels up. And they show that you take deficient men, you get their vitamin D3 status up, their testosterone rises automatically. Really good. So a simple habit there is that I mentioned the sunshine, and I want to get back to this. Is something that is not discussed enough in the health and wellness circles. Again, we are biocircadian beings. We are meant to be in direct contact with the sun to kind of control this cascade of different hormones throughout the day. And the best vitamin D that you can get is through the sun. 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your skin pigment, it could be a little bit longer, of direct sunlight on your skin and in your eyes is one of the best health habits. It can help increase your testosterone levels. There's actually literature on that. This is crazy. They actually showed, they had people get sun directly on the testes, no joke. And it increases testosterone levels marginally, which is
really
pretty fun. Yeah. So
naked try that one.
That's what you guys got from this podcast. Naked in the sunshine. But we also know that the sunlight directly in your eyes stimulates serotonin production, makes you feel better in the morning. So the vitamin D3, absolutely huge. I would also say zinc and magnesium, which are two common minerals. You know, if you look at a lot of even the main multivitamins that people take, a lot of them don't have magnesium. And if you're eating a processed diet, chances are you're not getting a lot of magnesium. Guys who eat, you know, a lot of meats throughout their day are getting probably plenty of zinc, but zinc, magnesium, vitamin D3, and believe it or not, creatine monohydrate. Creatine is a phenomenally effective substance. It does lower sex hormone binding globulin a little bit, which increases free testosterone. And it's so much more than just like a bodybuilder kind of supplement. There's research shows for people over 70 who do not strength train. They didn't listen to this podcast, so they don't know this stuff yet. But they do take creatine monohydrate. They actually hold on to their muscle. And creatine also keeps your yeah, amazing, right? Yeah. So they're showing now with now more with geriatric care, they're looking at doing some, you know, continuous dose 3 to 5 gram creatine monohydrate. You know, I've been talking to getting my grandma on it for a long time. She's in her late 90s, pushing 100, and still mobile. So getting grandma on the creatine monohydrate.
That's awesome.
making some gains, grandma. So creatine monohydrate is another great supplement, and then the other stuff around the herbs like stinging nettle, all that stuff. You know, that's not necessary for boosting the testosterone levels.
Whereas you get just a little bit of strength training in there.
A little bit of strength training, sleep, vitamin D3, zinc and magnesium, and you pretty much have yourself covered.
And that's you know, it's not like that's a mystery. These things have kind of been around for a while. It's a matter of doing it. Yeah. It's a matter of just doing a little bit of it maybe at first and then working it into your daily habits, hopefully, and then realizing that it's worth it, which is easier said than done, but definitely worth it.
Let's talk about that, because I think there's one, if you don't mind, I think there's one or two valuable things that we can... I'd like to help people think about that meal timing setup, and more importantly, what types of meals are important. So the way I think about my first meal, I typically intermittent fast, is if I'm having that first meal around 11, the goal of that first meal is to cover my micronutrients for the day. Macronutrients, what I mean by this is macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, you could get them in so many different varieties of foods. Micronutrients, all the vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals that we need to thrive, just as important, very hard to get. Even if you're eating a very unprocessed diet, you have to eat a wide range of foods to cover that. So my first meal typically is a shake with 1 whole raw egg mixed in there, and it has all my micronutrients covered. I have a phenomenal greens powder that I put in there, and I have some chia seeds, hemp seeds. I have my own like secret recipe, but the point is I put something in there that I know for the rest of the day, if I eat nothing else, I'm just slotting in calories. I have all my micronutrients covered. Second meal of the day, which I recommend for people. So that's shake for a first meal. Doesn't have to be that way. It just so happens to be very convenient, and a lot of people do like that.
Sure.
Next meal, one meal, whether it's this meal or dinner, a big green salad. Like literally, if you do shake and then salad for lunch, such a simple and beautiful habit, because one of the hardest things for people who well, first off, we'll talk about the importance of salad and just getting all that beautiful fiber that moves through your digestive tract, that feeds your gut probiotics. And we know how important those guys are for, all of your functioning. But the beautiful thing, I think, from a habits behavioral perspective, is a salad is a location independent habit. Let me say, because listen, there's a lot of people when they go, they fall off track with their health routines when they travel because they don't have the rice cooker or the chicken breast or the avocados. Like all that stuff is at home. And when you're not at home, your whole habit routine went out the window. But if you make something like a salad, you can get a salad at McDonald's that may even pass our test in a way. Point being is like you could get it almost anywhere. And so if you have you want to get micronutrients covered in one meal, a salad in one meal, then you can have a little more flexibility with dinner and you don't have to feel like it's as rigid. You can eat a wide variety of foods. You could go to dinner. Another thing I like to slot in there is having people have a go-to non-perishable snack. Something that's like your go-to. So it might be a certain kind of nut or seed that you like. It might be a certain kind of fruit that you like. It doesn't matter, but I like it to be something that, you can pack and travel with you. It could be an unprocessed bar. Believe it or not, there are a couple of those good ones out there. For me, I'm Italian. I like some tinned sardines for the.
I do the same thing. I was just going to say that.
DHA and EPA, you can travel
smoked oysters too.
Exactly, right? Some good tinned seafood. You can take them anywhere. TSA thinks they look like a bunch of bombs if you put them in your bag too much, but
they almost stole mine once. Help me up for like a half hour.
Me too. We must be the only two guys carrying the sardines on the plane. But point being, non-perishable snacks, really great things to think about. And what's the big message here is we're just being proactive. I'm not telling you need to eat this amount of food at this time, but I am conceptually trying to say micronutrients covered, big green blast, have a non-perishable snack, be flexible over dinner.
I love that.
That's the framework. And I say shake, salad, snack, supper. Or if you intermittent fast, it might be shake, salad, supper.
So let's switch to fasting a little bit, because that's another thing that I'm really interested in and have been doing for years. Are you doing more of the 16-8 where you eat midday, or what does yours look like?
I love daily fasting. Mostly from a behavioral perspective, and I get a lot of my focused work and my meditation done in the morning on an empty stomach.
Yep.
Get up, get the sunshine, get on my rebounder, and just I start my day and I'm not getting food in immediately. I feel great doing that. So I do 16-8, but that is not truly even tapping into the deep benefits of fasting, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You're always in a semi-fed state. You're getting a little bit depleted towards the end, but you ate 16 hours ago, not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
A couple times per year, ideally once a quarter, but at least twice a year, I go into a deep fast. And this will be multi-day. I think a deep fast starts at around 3 days plus. Anywhere from 3 to 7 is where you get some of these phenomenal health benefits. Your immune system completely resets itself. Your new stem cells start to flourish. You really get this neurogenesis that really kicks in. Your cells start digesting old proteins through this autophagy process. Mm-hmm. We could really nerd out on this stuff, but our bodies were truly built to fast. I love, kind of bridging like the East and West kind of traditions, but you look at the yin and the yang kind of concept, right? You have a yang that's very active and dynamic and more of a masculine, and you have a yin that's more nourishing and feminine. Fasting is kind of like the yin and the yang of like anabolism, building up, consuming food, and catabolism, breaking down. Mm-hmm. Because we have constant food access in Western societies, we just do not have enough of this yin component. We don't have enough time where our bodies are, auto-digesting, breaking down, relaxing. We're always throwing food into the system. We need to clean it out. So I think the 16-8 fasting is phenomenally effective for managing your calories, managing your energy levels, and it's just really simple for a lot of people, and they can lose a lot of weight and feel phenomenal. But I do urge other people, even if you're not a 16-8 person, you work out in the morning, I want my shake in the morning, to consider doing, a 24-hour fast once a week. And eventually, as you get to know fasting through direct experience, work up to longer fasts to really reap these health benefits. I think you asked from a longevity perspective, I think in managing, your nutrient intake, and definitely fasting is something that I think is pivotal to increase lifespan.
What about for those longer fasts? What are you doing as far as liquids go? Are you avoiding all calories? What does it look like?
I personally, when I do them, I do avoid all calories. Herbal non-caffeinated teas, lots of water, lots of great hydration, some minerals, to keep the electrolytes in balance. But I'm a big fan of non-caloric fasting. From a cellular perspective, the fasting is triggered by a deficiency in energy. You get AMP kinase and stuff to start increasing. You don't want to give food into the system. So water fasting is what I'm a big fan of.
And then exercise?
Yes. So light, I'd say consider daily movement is important while you're fasting. Just walking and spending as much time outside, deep breathing. Like, you don't want to do a water fast during the busiest day of your work year. You know what I mean? It's a time really where you want your body to be able to like relax and like unwind and so this would be a perfect time to do a lot of stretching, kind of like the yoga, meditation, like everything you'd imagine would happen at some kind of like intense fasting yoga retreat. You want to try to create that in your own home. And hey, look, it could just be a weekend fast. It could be like, I have dinner on Friday. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna we're gonna set up the house. I'm gonna have a really great peaceful environment. I'm going to get a great book, get my teas all prepared, send the kids off to the grandparents, and I'm going to fast until dinner on Sunday. That's still something that's very viable and accessible for people. And it's not easy, but it gets easier as you get better at it. But this is something that you might be interested in, some of our other listeners here who are into strength training. What I started playing around in is doing one set of strength training exercises per body part on every day during the fast. So you're not doing a big workout that's breaking you down, but you're giving your body a little bit of stimulation. So let's just say you're on day 3 of your fast. You might do 1 set of squats, 1 set of rows, 1 set of push-ups, 1 set of shoulder press, just enough to get the blood flowing and to tell your body, hey, we're holding on to this muscle for a reason. This is a good stimulus to do so. Yeah. And I've done 5-day fasts without strength training. It's not like you come out of there looking like withered and you lost your last 5 years of strength training progress by any means. But I think it is a good gentle stimulation to keep the body, used to having vigorous exercise.
I'm curious about what happened when you didn't exercise. Like, did you sacrifice much performance gains or not really?
No. I mean, you do lose most of the weight that you do lose during a fast is a lot of it's the water weight associated with emptying your body from the glycogen stores. Yeah. So for a couple days, as you're easing back out of fast, it's not like you end the fast and you go get like a huge meal. You have to gently reintroduce your digestive tract to some of these foods. So, net 1 month out of the fast, you're just as strong as you were beforehand, but you're probably leaner.
And not getting sick as much. And
not getting sick as your immune system is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll think about it this way. A lot of people don't know this, don't really hear this analogy too much, but we should truly be teaching this to our kids is the human body is a tube. Like we are a tube. Abel, here's a weird, listen, buckle up right now. I could take a piece of floss with a string on it. I could have you swallow that. And I could floss you, Abel, from both ends as that comes out.
That's a great
image. It's a weird concept, right? We are truly a tube, and that tube is not even inside our body. That tube is not inside our body. And I know it's a subtle thing, but it's almost like if you're driving a car through an under river tunnel. Like there's a tunnel that goes through a river. You're driving a car. Are you in the river? Or are you not in the river? I would say you're not in the river. You're driving through the river.
Right.
This is kind of like what the digestive tract is for the human system. It's this super complex, dynamic environment where your immune system is concentrated through this tube. Everything, the external world that you put in is interacting with all the enzymes and the probiotics in your gut, and then stuff's assimilating through. We need to keep that tube clean. It needs time to not have food bombarded all the time. And a big part of that is fasting and giving the system time to just, empty that tube out. That's important.
Meditation for your esophagus.
There you go. Right. Yeah.
Well, it is. It's the yin yang. It's keeping everything in balance. And I think the more you can see similarities between these different things, the more likely you are to be able to make your own choices as they present themselves in an uncertain future, right?
Beautifully said. And I also think too is I think there are things in life that are like truths with a big T, not just a small t. They're kind of like the laws of nature that you see, repeated on macroscopic and microscopic levels. Those are things that are, you could say, wow, this is very true. It's on all levels. And I think this yin yang concept, we see the same thing with the seasonality of this entire planet, right? Things are going through cycles. Our bodies are connected to this entire this life process that's happening. Although we kind of have boxed ourselves into houses and we've created society and structure, which has tons of benefits for us as a species, we're still connected to the dance that's outside the window. And this yin yang concept does apply to our health in a phenomenal way that a lot of people are waking up to appreciating.
Yeah. And I'm happy that they are. We need it more than ever, that's for sure. And I can't believe it, but we are coming up on time. So before we go, please, we could talk all day for sure, and I'm sure we'll talk again. But please, before you go, tell folks what you're working on and what the best place is to find you as well.
So outside of all the funky meditation, yoga, flossing, Abel stuff, my main passion is helping busy moms and dads, lose weight, get on these sustainable plans as we kind of discussed today, so they can be better parents, healthier for themselves, and raise better kids. So we have two companies, the Fit Father Project and the Fit Mother Project, fitfatherproject.com, fitmotherproject.com. And as you mentioned in the intro of this podcast, we've run, well over 20,000 people through our online program. So my mission is to create as many fit moms and fit dads as possible in this world so we can raise fit kids and just help this cycle of humanity go on the upswing, because I kind of feel like we're at this critical inflection point. So if you're someone out there who is interested in living healthier, you resonate with some of the stuff that was shared here, check out those websites. We have an insane amount of free resources, and we have some great YouTube channels too. So if you want to hear me rant about random stuff, YouTube is a good place to look up. Anthony Balduzzi or Fit Father Project.
Go hear him rant. His work is great. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
This was a blast.
This episode is brought to you by Wild Superfoods. Let's start with a quick question. Do health supplements really work? After testing many hundreds of tonics, supplements, powders, and potions over the past 7+ years, my wife Allison and I have found very few companies that we actually trust. Massive, faceless corporations seem to be running the show, often prioritizing profits well above our collective health. Many supplements in stores and online are of extremely low quality, are ridiculously overpriced, and some don't even contain the active ingredient they're supposed to be selling. We all deserve much better. That's why my wife Allison and I created Wild Superfoods. We're a small family business and we take our own products daily because we think they're the best out there. Our Ultimate Daily Bundle provides you with a complete supplement regimen that you can trust to deliver maximum health benefits without the guesswork. Whether you're looking for Mega Omegas, Vitamin D Stack, Probiotic Spheres, or Future Greens, our cutting-edge supplements have you covered. And as a listener of Fat Burning Man, you can save over $80 on a one-time purchase or save over $128 when you select Subscribe and Save. All you have to do is head on over to wildsuperfoods.com. You can type it into your address bar right now to order your very own health-boosting goodies for a rocking listener discount for a limited time. And as always, if you don't love any of our products from Wild Superfoods, then you get your money back. So one more time, all you have to do to check it out is visit wildsuperfoods.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you there. Well, hey there, listener. This is Abel one more time, and I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Fat Burning Man Show. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you might be listening to or watching this show right now. And if you have a second, please leave me a quick review for the Fat Burning Man Show. I read every single one of them, and every time you leave a review, it gives us a little boost in the rankings, and that helps other people find this show. And if you can think of someone else who might enjoy and benefit from this free show, please take a second to share it with a friend or a family member. And if they're like, what is this Fat Burning Man thing? That's a really silly name. You could be like, you're right, but here's the deal. We've recorded over 250 episodes of the Fat Burning Man Show with thought leaders in health from all over the world. And so far, we've won 4 awards, hitting #1 in health in more than 8 countries internationally. We have more than 30 million downloads already, but we're just getting started. I can't believe any of this, by the way, and couldn't do any of this without you. So thanks once again. But here's some more good news. You can download and listen to every single episode of the Fat Burning Man Show for free with 0 outside advertisements, no outside sponsors, and no corporate overlords. All you have to do is type in fatburningman.com. I'll give you a second here just to type it in. Fatburningman.com. And you'll get all the show notes, transcripts, and video and audio versions for all the past episodes of the Fat Burning Man Show for free. Better yet, enter your email at fatburningman.com, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll even send you a quick start guide so you can take your health into your own hands right now, along with a few of our ridiculously tasty recipes as a special thanks for signing up. Once again, just go to fatburningman.com right now, enter your best email to get your free goodies with a bonus surprise straight to your inbox. This is Abel James signing off. Thank you so much for listening once again, and have a great week.